Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. We're doing a slightly off schedule hangout this time because our guest is visiting us all the way from Australia. He's a name that might be known to some of you old timers out there. Goes
Old
by,
timers, wait just a minute here.
hey,
We're
this
not that
creator
old
didn't
yet.
magically appear, man. But if you've been in the modding scene for any length of time, of course, there's a lot of names that come and go over the years. But one of the names that we really do remember for the quality and craziness of some of the work that he's done, and reading one of the new mod blogs that he's just put out, talking between himself and Cheapskate, our own insane modder, his off the cuff work. He goes by Defyant and his name is Luke. How you doing, Luke?
Howdy all.
So I'm going to turn this over to Bill.
So, Luke St. Clair, thanks for joining us today. This is something I wanted to do for a long time. I'm glad that you reappeared in the mod community because you took a bit of a long hiatus. And I remember there was a time then people were actually saying, does anybody know what's up with Defyant? Anyone seen Defyant? I mean, your hiatus was like almost 10 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yep, 10 years. Yeah, it would be a good 10 years.
Yeah, what was your last project that you shared with everybody? Do you recall?
Oh, no.
All right, we can.
10 years is a long time, Bill.
Yeah, it is.
I'd have to say, I think I might have started a project, a HP project, maybe, and never completed it.
Oh,
Might have been
okay.
an unfinished project. Yeah, yeah. So how's that for good form? An unfinished project, 10-year-old. I might be able to dig it out.
Hey, man, you never know. I mean, maybe you
Yeah,
can bring it back. But then again, we've all got those projects that we need to dust off, right? That just
yeah,
seem to collect,
yeah.
sit in the corner and that. But this is an opportunity that Drew and I have to document an interview with you online so people can discover it later on from now. A lot of people that are watching this probably aren't familiar with Defiant
No,
and the
no.
creations that he's done that were blowing us away a decade ago in this community when this community was hot and going back to the pimprig.com days, back when
Mm,
Hard OCP had much, well, just
yeah.
the overall mod community, which is much more active and vibrant and sharing and pushing one another.
It
So
was, yeah.
let's just start with ground zero and hear about how you got into PC modding.
How I got into PC modding. I think I was just sitting at my desk one day and I looked at my case and I thought, gee, that's boring. How boring is that? And I think, honestly, there was no real internet for me to go to back then. And I just thought of ways to make that case look better. And because I had a background in cars, and I think a lot of us do, we got mechanical backgrounds, we got panel work, we got engine work, we got electric work, electrics, not electronics in cars, electrics or electrical. And I think that's all it was. It was just trying to, if I go back and look at that first mod, how embarrassing, I think it had a wobbly window in it, a blowhole for the fan to suck air through and then I cabled all my stuff in green split loom. Pretty boring, you know.
Now, this is one of the mods that I recall. Do you see this one, Luke, up on the screen?
Yeah, I do. I do. I
And
think I've got a bit of that.
this is one thing that Luke would do that was really blew us away, that he would take the most generic OEM PCs and completely hot rod them. This is actually started as an HP.
Yeah, the HP series. I think there was 6 in that series, wasn't there? It just what happened was it is the first two, I think, the first one or two gained so much momentum here locally that people were contacting me and saying, "Hey, I've got one of them out in the garage. You want it?" Because these were old then. These were when I started modding them. These were P2s. These started out as
Oh
P2s.
yeah.
Remember those old slot P2s?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they started off they started off as those. They got into the P3 era, only just, but yeah, they are. yeah, people would contact me and say, "Hey, I've got one of those. You want it?" And so you go and pick it up, and that'd be HP3, and then someone would contact you. "I've got one of those. You want it?" You know, HP4. It just sort of went on and on and on.
Now, taking a look at this HP in your HP series, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is probably around what, maybe 2004 or two. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah. Now, look at what Luke was doing back then. He was shrouding. He shrouded the motherboard. That's what people are doing now. He was doing it over a decade ago. Look at that.
And the thing that drew my eyes to his work too, those that use of that vibrant colored plexi.
Yes. And now in Australia, you refer to it as perspex, right?
Plex, yeah. Plexiplex, perspex, yep, that's it. Oh, gee, that's a walk down memory
look at
lane.
that, man, dude. That is awesome.
It was. Now, not so much.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, today there's so many more options out of the box. I mean, to do this type of stuff, you can start with a great case right away that you don't have to cut up. I mean, you're cutting up HPs that had maybe an 80 millimeter, size cooling fan, and you're putting a lot of work into this stuff that was not, the engineers would have never imagined anyone ever doing,
But thanks to that stuff, the kids have got what they got now. It was us.
That's exactly right.
Doing this, showing them the way. It wasn't just me; it was all of us. We were, you talk about the old days, and the modders you had back then. You had the Shell Dog, American Freak, Alonzo, yourself. Tech Daddy. You had so many, Benny G. You had so many modders all trying to create new stuff. Pave the way, so to speak. I just seemed to get stuck with Bondo, didn't I? That just.
Hey, we all were there, man. I mean, that was like the one medium that you had to work, that you knew how to work with it because of your car background.
Yeah.
But that's beautiful. The raised flames on the surface.
Yeah. I felt good about that too. Some things you do and you think, oh, look, this is crap. This is garbage. And other things you actually felt special while you were doing it. That was the great thing about the whole scene back there, and it was so supportive. When you did something like that, everybody told you, and it wasn't just the punters. It was the guys that were modding alongside you. We're all spurring each other along and into it.
And when you do something like this, that raised technique, the feedback was immediate because you'd see other people suddenly start to incorporate that same thing.
Yeah. You're right. 100%.
Oh yeah, very true, man. You were doing a lot of stuff that was inspiring everybody to look at things differently. And what I always liked about your work is that you're a lot like me in that it's in the details. It's all in the little details.
People would still pick those details apart, though. People, which was good, because what that did was it made you a little bit better for the next one. Geez, this is a walk down memory lane, isn't it?
Yeah, I love this NOS bottle too, man. As a reservoir, that's a great idea. Yeah, I've never seen a NOS bottle in the States like that.
No, and you won't see one. It was made up. It was, the idea was not to make it exactly like a NOS bottle, but just to, give the impression that it, that it was a NOS bottle.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Now here's go ahead.
Recently I threw all these out. I got sick of looking at them, and I actually want to start over in the mods. I was going to start a little thing. Where are your old mods now? And I think it might be a fantastic thread for everyone to get into, because I know where all mine are, at the tip.
Oh no, it's a beautiful idea. I've got some of mine that I've still kept. In fact, Mosquito and I have thought about maybe doing some videos where we actually revive one of our old builds and we do
Yeah.
put it on the turntable and talk about it and as a reflection of the era and the hardware that we used in that. Because I've got a couple of builds. A local customer still has one of my old builds with most of the old hardware in it. So yeah, for sure, I think it's a great idea, man.
That green thing, is it that
Right here?
perspex thing? Yeah,
Oh
that was
yeah, I
such
remember this.
that was knocked up out of an old junker case, which was given to me, I think. And I had a bunch of that green perspex laying around, and I just put it together. You can see how easy it was, and yet it got so much attention, and
Oh, it did.
um, I couldn't believe the amount of attention it got. It ended up in a shop, and it ended up on other sites, and
Wasn't it published in this Atomic Maximum Power Computing magazine too?
maybe not. Maybe it didn't get into Atomic. It was one of the ones that didn't end up getting there, but yeah, it was sort of. It was sort of. Um, I was closely affiliated with Atomic back then, so the sticker went on the res. Other than that, there was yeah. But look at it, just a bunch of old Plex, old green
Yeah.
Plex. It was actually bought for another mod called Gateway. I had an old Gateway tower. Remember the old Gateway? Don't know if they were popular
Yeah, yeah, the
OS, but
cow. It
yeah,
was the
that's it. Yeah, the cow. That's the one. Yeah, and I was doing that and gave up on it. It was actually, I think it may have been secretly my first LCD side panel mod, and I gave up on it and moved that whole idea over into another mod. Or
It's
was that
interesting
HP?
looking at this, and this was at the time those clear acrylic cases were really popular.
They were, yeah.
And today you're creating your own acrylic case from scratch.
Exactly. Kids have got printers now. You can't keep up. I'm out the back with a router, doing everything old school with a router and a Dremel, and you just walk inside and you open up another work log, and there's a similar thing done with a laser cutter, and the detail in what you're looking at. Just you can see, like, that's all cut with a jigsaw. How,
Oh, I hear you. And I've had, if I've done something by hand and I've shared it in a work log, people say, well, why didn't you just, CNC that instead? But the
yeah,
truth
because
is, though, then that means it's not that easy. You literally have to draw it up. And then if the mill's already preoccupied making something, I may have to wait. So I'm just like, it makes more sense to just, if I can cut this myself now, I'm just going to cut it myself now. It's
hang on, Bill. You don't have a CNC out in the back shed like most of these little kids have now with your laser cutter and your
well, here's the thing about that. And there was this meme that we've talked about in the podcast on and off over the years where it was this meme where there was a comparison of this is modding, this isn't modding. And it was like I think it was in one picture it was a guy using a Dremel, and in the other picture was like a CNC router. And that 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 upset us because it's not that easy. If you don't have the imagination and the creation to come up with the designs, the machine isn't going to do it. You got to feed the machine the creativity, and you got to know how to program it and set up everything. So when somebody brings up, but kids have this and that, but how many of those kids are really doing, engineering or creating interesting things with it, though? That's my question.
Yeah, it's hard to find anything now that's pioneering. That when you look at, you literally go, wow, that's new. And we had a lot of that. It wasn't just me. It was yourself. It was some of those the quality of some of your early painted work was just it was leaving everyone for dead. And the airbrushing techniques that you were putting onto your cases early, that was the wow. That was now that's really
It doesn't mean much today.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's like, I guess in a way the art is lost and the real hands-on art form. There's not really anybody doing that I know of today. I'm sure there is somewhere, but I'm just not seeing it anymore.
You've got to look hard and long. And when I see it, I tell people that that's one of the most important thing I think is that in those early days we had so much encouragement, and not just from the general people out there, but from each other. We were encouraging each other, and you don't see that anymore. And when I do see it, I make sure to encourage, to let people know that this is good work. This is impressive. This is old school, and it's impressive.
I agree. Yeah, if we're gonna, be around here still, we have to inspire and motivate and push the people getting in, just starting it out into it, because unfortunately, what happens a lot is with this hobby, there's always a revolving door of people enter the hobby, maybe of one project, and then they leave. They may come back with another one, but most people, they come in for a little bit and then they're gone. Where then there's people, like me, Cheapskate, and other people on BitTech and that we've always been here, but our numbers are shrinking more and more. Um, I mean, I imagine, that you've gone through some life changes,
Yeah,
and you've got kids too, right?
grandkids now. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, grandkids now.
See,
Let's see.
I mod now for the grandkids. I get out there in
Ah,
the garage and I make them things. I make them toy car tracks. I make them rocket launchers. You find it. You're still being modding is a creative outlet. No matter how you look at it, it's a way to creatively express through your hands, through your thoughts. It's an outlet, and if I can't mod, I'm just doing something else. That's it. I'm not. It doesn't mean I'm not doing something. I'm always doing something. It's just another expression of um, of what you do. And
mhm.
that's so. Like you say, the headlights and tail lights. That's something that
All right,
is
I want to bring that up so everybody can see what you're doing. Is there a particular folder we should look at, Luke, for these headlight and tail light mods that you do?
that smug mug that you're showing now, and because of the photo bucket ransom, see, like you see those little crystal lights there.
Right here?
Making a bunch of those just above.
Oh,
Oh,
right here.
they're at. That's our fans. I modded our fans. Can you believe it? I put lights into our fans and turned our fans into a lounge room light feature. So we
Oh, that's
we did
cool.
we
You're
did have to
modding
have
everything.
lamps.
That's what I love
Yeah,
about you. You're
that's it. Yep, yep.
nothing's left untouched.
That's it.
I mean,
That's
look at this.
exactly it.
I mean, look at this. There's
Yeah.
this. I'm sure you witnessed this whole desk craze that's happened. You know,
Yeah.
and so you've got different variations of this. Okay, this is cool.
Uh,
Which one would
Mark
you like to
one,
share?
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
look, it's all sad. It's so we don't. I had to give up my gaming room a long, long time ago to the son. So we've modded him up a gaming room, and it's a room at the back of the house. It's we drywalled it, put a false roof in it, and set him up out there with these 4 monitors set up and monitors on the wall, and it's the what we all want to have. But because of that, I don't have a gaming room. So our gaming now, or as little as I do anymore of it, our surfing is all done from the lounge. So you have to cater to that. And originally, you could have those little lap things, or you can, like you can see there, I made some lounge gaming tables for the missus and myself, and we sit there, and that's how we surf and do everything.
Okay, so this is crazy. As grandparents, grandpa and grandma, instead of having TV trays in front of the
Yeah,
television,
that's it.
are gaming on the couch. This is
That's
great.
so yeah, actually.
What are you guys
That's
playing?
oh, look, I'm old, so I get into the old bit of Diablo and a few. I did do the WoW thing for maybe 10, 15 years.
That's how we lost him, Droog.
Yeah,
He was in the
yeah.
WoW.
World of
That's it.
Warcraft, man.
Yep.
That'll kill anything.
That's what it was.
That will learn it. That's death. But yeah, I couldn't mod it, so I got out of it. The little tables at the end there, you see those little white tables. I couldn't get anything from IKEA that suited what I wanted, so I made those up, the little end tables. I wanted something retro looking.
I love your floor in there. What is that kind of wood? Your wood floor? What is that?
Tassie oak, mate.
Tassie oak. So it's a native Australian native.
Yep, from Tasmania.
It's so cool.
It could just be shit pine, but I'm pretty sure it might be. I'm pretty sure
it does look like pine, but you make it sound so like exotic and sexy. Tassie
oak. Yep.
Tassie oak. And you got these speakers that you've put into your workstation too.
Yeah, they're not a bad little set of speakers. That's my other passion. I like to build speakers.
Yeah.
That was, that's actually probably around before the case modding days. That's something I bought. I've had a speaker fetish ever since I ripped my first speaker out of a TV on the side of the street, I think.
Interesting. So you're a bit of an audiophile too.
Yeah, massive.
All right. As I've just started getting into turntables.
Oh, Project's a good little table.
Let's see here. Where should I go next, Luke?
Oh,
right here? Okay.
Tables. Oh, more. There's the end tables. There's some little couple of tables I made for the nieces. So the nieces had some little matching tables. This is all weekend stuff you do, So yeah, and the thing with modding is that at the end of 10 years of modding, I had a bunch of crap at the back of a garage that I was never going to use. At least this is giving, I'm still doing what I like to do, which is create, but doing it for the extended family. So if you're not modding, you're making a table and you're passing that on to a niece or a nephew. Little scorpion style table. It's influencing everything I do lately, that scorpion thing.
Yeah, well, Disco Scorpion is your compact build.
Yeah. It's still got a tail and legs to go on it and a few other bits of pieces.
These are sweet designs. I've never we've got an IKEA by us. Yeah, I go in there once in a while just to get inspired and see what they're doing. And
no inspiration in there.
No, man.
No.
Now sometimes you'll come across moments of genius. But I've never seen anything that's representative of your designs though. These are very there's a well these we call them like these like amoeba shapes. Was really more prevalent like in the 50s, 60s. There was a movement. I can't remember what that movement was. Art movement.
Almost Art Deco, almost.
Yeah.
And retro, those little side units, they're retro. I don't know what you'd call the green and purple tables there. They're just, they're from the mind of a madman. But they, see, I couldn't get, I wanted the rounded edges, those nice rounded edges. See that? See the way they get that nice roundness to them? And you can't buy that. And if you want to buy that, it's retro and it's cost you a fortune.
Oh, exactly.
Especially something that thick. They're a bomb, those. They weigh a ton.
Oh, yeah.
And then the router bit that did all that edge work, those big round edges, that was a one-off bought item just for those, which I then incorporated into those little speakers, those little white speakers, to keep the round theme going.
That's killer. Let's see here. Take a look. Speaking of speakers, take a look at these guys.
Oh God. Yeah, see, that just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? Route a bit.
So could you share for anybody watching that's also like a hobby audiophile, like what is it that makes a good speaker?
Everything. From construction to crossover to the quality of the drivers you're putting in it. Look, you can put really good drivers into really good boxes with what you're looking at there is a crossover network, but with a crap crossover, they're going to sound like crap. So it's the whole. There's a really great place that I used to go to DIY. I can't say his name. It sounds like Troll, Troal, Trolls Groven. I'm sure if you sort of half got it right in Google, he'd pop up. And he's where I went to. This these speakers here revolve around a really old design of a Vifa speaker. So it's all pretty much out there, all the design and volume size of the box and everything to make them sound good.
You just said Viva speaker?
Vifa, yeah, Vifa speaker, yeah.
Where are those from? Sweden or Germany?
Yeah, I think they would have been a Sweden. Vifa would have been a Sweden driver. These are actually a combo. You know, that particular tweeter and that particular driver matched up very well. It was easy to get them to work. They worked in multiple size different boxes. There's a guy called Red Spade, if anyone's interested. He did a these are and they initially started off as a kit from Jcar, so you can see them beside a set of Wharfdales, and that's what they replaced. Those Wharfdales, as good as they were, they're the Diamond 9.1 series, and they were a great little speaker. Those ones I built were my direct replacement here at home for those, because those ones couldn't output the power I wanted when we were watching movies. So I wanted something that could handle, that wouldn't distort, is what I was after.
Interesting.
And, the best way to get it, well, for me, is to make it. You know, then I get
Right
exactly
on.
what. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Interesting. I saw that. Yeah, you got a Foo Fighters album.
Oh yeah.
Are you just into all types of music, or?
Yeah. All types.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a true audiophile. There's some audiophile groups that I follow on Facebook, and what I love about them is that you always learn about new music, although it could be music that's 50 years old, but you've never heard of, because they love the whole experience of just music. It's, I recently started making replacement feet for Technics 1200 turntables, because I knew in the back of my mind that I always wanted to make feet, because we were already making feet for computer cases, and I thought, well, how can we expand our market? Well, audiophile people. And then there was like more of an interest in replacing the feet on turntables for different reasons. Like if it was a DJ and they didn't want the turntable to travel at all, like to move while they're scratching or mixing, or if they're just an audiophile and they're concerned about isolating any type of vibration. So that's like a new realm that I'm learning more about, and I want to cater more to. So that's why I asked earlier, like if you were into turntables. I noticed I couldn't see what type of turntable you had in your living room. What?
We use a project, a basic model project, a great little turntables. I think the one we use is called the Debut.
Oh, is it a direct drive?
It's a belt drive. Beautiful little belt drive with an external motor. The motor sits externally outside of the table or the platter, and the power is supplied externally as well. So there's no hum. There's no. The idea is to keep the actual table without any electronics in it, and so the motor is separated as much as it can be, and the power is sent off board.
Interesting. That's the thing, is that most people would never realize how many different turntables are made. Just like over, like going back to the 50s, but even today, there's all these turntables that are still made today, but people would have no idea unless they,
of course,
they dive into that search on the internet. And it is amazing on how the audiophile market is so enthusiast driven in its own little core that most people don't even know it exists. I think I kind of like that about it.
They're dedicated. They're very tight knit. They're very dedicated, and they're cashed up too.
Oh yeah, well that's the whole thing. And one thing I've noticed is the amount of the bullshit marketing that goes on It is insane. And like some of the, and so the first thing I did is I dived into like what types of feet are offered in the market. I mean, what am I up against for competition? And some of these designs that these guys do, and if you're talking like $300 to $400 for just a set of feet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of well, look, it's like everything. If you love something and you want the best, you'll always pay. And the audiophile market really, uh, what's the word? It really sinks its claws into that. You know, I think a while back uh, I got a bit caught up in the whole wire thing. So I went out and bought a
Oh,
solid silver speaker wire,
oh my,
99.9
oh my gosh.
solid silver. And I hooked it all up, and honestly, nothing. And I had some nice speakers. I had a good amp. I couldn't pick the difference between that and network cable.
Right.
What is it? Cat 5, Cat
Yeah.
5 network
Now
cable.
we're up to cat. Up to Cat 7, Drew.
Cat 7 now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, something
almost
like that.
fiber optic, wouldn't it?
And I remember reading a few years back, probably 2003, 2004, there was a story that somebody had done on Ars Technica, I believe, about doing a double blind test between one of those $150 pair of speaker cables, I can't remember the brand, and a set of coat hanger wires that they had just tipped with the correct ends. And every audio file that they brought into the room to do the double blind testing with could not tell the difference. And more people reported that the speakers sounded better with the coat hangers.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it reminds me a lot of the art world. It's all subjective to the person experiencing it. You know, some people see, Jackson Pollock as art while others just see it as paint splatters. And I think that's the way I feel about the audio market. And when you look at when you really dive into this market and they have these trade shows and you get to see like a turntable that somebody created that's like $100,000 turntable, and it's this ridiculously outrageous thing that weighs as much as a tank, and to think that there's actually a market as somebody that believes that buying that they're going to get that much better sound out of it is just. But hey, I mean, if there's, I guess that's the great thing about it. If there is people that are willing to pay that money,
Well,
so
that's it. You can relate that to cars. You can relate that to the modding scene at the moment. You can relate that to almost any indulgent. It's all indulgence. Your hi-fi, your modding. Modding to me is something that's just purely self-centered. It makes us feel good, so we do it. The fact that others get a kick out of it as well. Well, that's a good byproduct of it. But that relates to every indulgence out there. Everything. Cars, modding, hi-fi. You've got a plane, you want the best plane. Pools. If you're into pools, you want the best pool. It's kind of homes nowadays. You look at there's sites on the internet now that cater just for homes and how good they look. Everything's indulgent.
yeah, very true. So what was it that so other than like World of Warcraft, what else just kind of like detoured your interest from custom cases and modding and all that stuff?
Boredom.
Boredom.
Look, I'm because I've got so many different interests. I can't stay focused on one thing forever. And I think I gave modding a pretty hard, wouldn't say burnout, but I gave it a pretty hard shot for a while there. I was, as prolific as I could have got, I suppose, at the time. And I just you look for new challenges. Once you've bondoed up 20 cases, once you've you know, you've done so many different things. You just look for something a little bit new. And WoW did come along. I was, but that's just by night. You know, you still had to do things by day. And I was still modding, but like you saw, there was headlights and other things I was getting into at the time. I just, like I said before, if I'm not doing this, I'm doing something else. You know, there's something else um, to get out in the garage and create and make.
Mm-hmm. This Supreme Commander build that you did, was that for somebody or just yourself or somebody in your family? Or
there was a commission by Atomic, I think. It was a giveaway, a contest giveaway, which is why it never really made it into a work log or a forum. Because you can't, you know. Nowadays it's different. If you're doing that sort of thing, well, you get sponsors and that. For me to have published that at the time, it would have spoilt the contest that was being given away for. I look at it now and it's so cheesy. You know, that's yeah, that's just a bunch of everything that I don't subscribe to as a modder. It's a bunch of laser cut perspex stuck onto a case. You know, there wasn't much of me in that. You know, it's like you said, was that all went to I learned how to design and get into those programs and I think the most fun I had making that was the res and scratching up the windows. You know, the rest was all out of my control.
What was your favorite all-time build that you did? Is it on here?
Look, honestly, that white thing, that
this right here, the HP6.
No, well, that never got finished. The one to the left, right over to the left of that.
Let me go back. Let's see. One to the left.
The white, where is it? Just beside the HP4 flamed. Up one to your left. I think, what was it called? I can't remember. HP3 with the big
HP3 Mega?
Yeah, I think that one now. Yeah, that one.
Here?
Yeah.
It's your favorite?
Yeah. Why? Because it genuinely showed the direction I felt at the time everything was going. So it really showed the RGB thing, which I could see was just taking off. You know, that was just insane. Yeah.
And this is real old school RGB where you were using the separate LEDs to do the mixing.
Yeah, can you imagine that? No strips. There was no strips back then. Yeah, it was all little RGBs, and you had to switch them. You know, between your red, your green, and your blue. And if you put your red and your blue on at the same time, wow, you got pink.
Yeah, it's crazy, the whole RGB thing. We did a case review of Inwin 101C, and they sent along their Polaris RGB fans. And when he said he was sending them along, I'm like, okay. But they're currently Inwin's Polaris RGB fans, in my opinion, are the top for best quality RGB fan. They're super. The frame is completely clear, and the illumination is equal from the front or the back, and the illumination goes to the frame of the fan. Versus, for the longest time, you'd only see like the illumination come from like 4 distinctive points from the LED through the fan blades. Now they figured out a way. You know, they have the illumination come from the center fan hub, projects out, and they've really nearly perfected the art of RGB lighting. It's not there yet, but you can see how much better it's gotten. And they're very good quality fans. So, yeah, it's been interesting to see the progression of it. But I think that the industry's kind of fallen into this, and a lot of people agree, is that, okay, you've figured out RGBs. Let's move on to something else that's innovative. Can we spend this time to come up with something new to get people excited? Like, I always bring up, we still see Molex connectors on the market. I mean, why aren't? Oh! I almost forgot this. Here's the genius in the Polaris fans by Inwin, is that they're you can daisy chain them. they're socketed. So each individual fan, you get connectors. So now you can daisy chain the fans together with sockets. So they're not individually powered. They all go through one line to your motherboard, which is awesome. It saves a lot of space for cable management. It makes things really simple. The only thing is, though, is that not every motherboard is offering the 4-pin RGB header. The higher end ones like Asus's higher end boards and Gigabyte and MSI, but they're not readily available yet. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting considering what you were doing with RGB. This is well over 10 years ago. And today where it's at now. This paint job that you did on here, Luke, how to describe what you did for this paint job? Because it's like this pearl metallic.
It was pearl. Yeah. I think from memory we had to give that a base coat or something else. It was, geez, this is all going back years. I had a spray booth set up out the back, and I could spray paint, but not, this is So I got a mate over, a really good mate, and he came over and he was a professional spray painter. And this is what I saw in your work. The professional of the spray painting was always, a class above. And he I think he had to lay down a flat base coat of white.
Mm-hmm.
So a flat white base coat over the primer and the bog and all the spray putty that went into that. And then he hit it with the pearl on the top. Yeah. Look, this is why it was probably my favorite. Was just the quality of the finish was, it was like a mirror. You could always felt whenever it was sitting somewhere, you felt like you could reach into it. It was a beautiful. Look at all that.
Look at all this custom acrylic work you did. Like even the individual, the motherboard header connectors had acrylic tubing they went inside of.
Yeah,
I've never
I've
seen that done, man. I've never seen that done before.
Okay. Put water in that. Look at that. It's the father of hard tubing right there.
Right on. Yeah. Right on. So was that acrylic? It was acrylic tubing?
Yeah. Well, acrylic, see, here's the crazy thing about water cooling is the craze that's there now. It's been around for years. Those tubes you could always just walk in and buy. But to bend those in those days, we didn't have silicon inserts. So to bend those and get a mandrel bend, a uniform bend, I was using sand. It was the only way to get a mandrel bend in those. And for the most part, it worked. I don't think I ended up using that in that mod. I actually don't think I put that into that mod. I don't know why.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen that. In fact, this is the first time I've ever seen anybody ever do that. All right, so explain the process. You had to fill the tubing with sand, and then you heat the outside of the tubing with like a heat gun?
Well, that one actually, believe it or not, I didn't do it like, I think from memory, I put it in boiling water. I think I dipped those in boiling water and bent them that way. I think I can't. It's a long time ago, Bill.
So you put the sand in the tubing, then you put it into boiling water and.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that's how to get that the little double bend that you see in some of those, because some of those bend, they come along, then they bend up, then they bend around, and I think that the best way to do that I worked out back then was to dip them. But look, I could be wrong. It's really
it's interesting. I've been Drew, what's going on in the live chat? Has there been any questions or anything? I haven't been paying attention to it.
We have a lot of side chatter of agreeing with the topics of conversation. We have somebody who was saying, "Oh, wait, this is the dude who did Compact on the LTT forums."
Oh, good God! Yeah, I popped. That's a weird old place. That's Linus Tech Tips, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a different sort of a place than what I'm used to.
Yeah, it's yeah. There's not as much this kind of DIY cutting up modding stuff there is, but yeah, I would say Linus Tech, because I'm a member of it too, and I peek in there periodically. It's almost more of a lifestyle as a geek, kind of like you're just into building cool stuff and into tech. Because when you're in the forums, there's just a lot of it. lot of the activity revolves around just like general discussion of everything going on, like
Yeah. Yeah.
TV, movies, music, or just tech stuff in general. I look at LTT as kind of like a geek nerd lifestyle community, versus I would say Bit Tech, the Mod Zoo, and then overclock.net are kind of like keeping the more of the DIY liquid cooling and modding going. Now, not to say that those are, there isn't other forums out there. There's other little satellite forums out there doing it too. But I would say that in general, BitTech and overclock.net have the most activity, for this hobby. Where the Mod Zoo has always been like a word of mouth community. You kind of hear about it through, me or somebody else that's a member or something. You know, this was one of my favorite builds by you. That front bezel.
Router, all routed again.
Yeah.
All routed, all hand routed. Unbelievable, isn't it? The amount of those rings, they were. I remember having when I did those, we had a really close affiliation back then with those things. I think I might have even got the idea off you.
Yeah, the blowhole rings, which unfortunately, it was fun. I sold a lot of them, but then what happened? It's funny you bring that up. Is that's kind of a reflection of where the market changed, in that those kits that I was making, you had to make a hole in your case in order to use them. Otherwise, it was pointless. And what I started noticing is when sales started waning, decreasing, demand decreased, is that just kids weren't picking up power tools anymore like they were.
They didn't have to. They didn't
Right.
have to. It was all done. It's all done for them now. It's
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good thing. You don't want too many. You don't want too many young kids picking up power tools. That's it's always a worry when you show, and that's why I stopped showing that. I thought it wasn't. What's the word? It was great to show what I wanted to build. It was great to show the end product, but to show the actual, to try and pictures of me. And even now, if there's a picture I put up and my hand's in it, I'll actually say, look, this is a really dumb idea, because everyone with half a brain realizes if you're going to take a picture of yourself using a router, one hand's obvious.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
one hand's on the camera. And I'm obviously brain dead, but yeah, they I stopped doing it. I didn't. Yeah. Look at that EL. Now, see, I saw that cool. EL wire in whose mod? A brilliant mod. That mod with the spider mod on the forums. Who did that? That's
oh man, I don't remember. You hit me with a bunch of screen names at the beginning of this that were like, oh my god, I haven't heard that in a long time. But I know what you're talking about.
He's on the zoo now.
He is.
He's a prolific. He's a brilliant modder. He's got so many mods under his belt. I think at the moment he's
Cheapskate.
No, well, he is, and I got to look more into Cheapskate, because he's been around for a long time, and I missed a lot of his work in the early days. But he obviously knows my work, so that's.
Oh yeah, for sure. He definitely remembers you.
I'm going back through all his work logs. No, what's his? He's doing right now. He's doing the fiberglass mod, I think.
Oh, Insolent Gnome, Dave. Yeah, Insolent Gnome.
Was it him that did that? The spider mod with the legs and it was great little. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Are you talking about a recent one that he did, or are we going back like 10 years ago?
No. This is recent. This is all recent in the.
Oh yeah, that would have been Insolent Gnome. He had the it was like a centipede. Is that what you're referring to?
Before the centipede, was there one before the centipede? And it's like got a small body on it, little mini ITX build, and it's got the spider legs that come off. I'm just doing.
Okay, yeah, you can find it. But
a brilliant mod, absolutely. But I noticed that he used EL wire in it, and I'm thinking, geez, I haven't seen EL wire used since back in the days of Storm, because of LEDs have taken over, and EL wire has just become obsolete in modding scene now.
I would say now, going back to your work, that this HP, your HP2, this is probably, from my perspective, was your most famous mod, because I remember this got a lot of it made a lot of sites. I just recall it might have. Do you recall who published it? I swear that a couple of magazines published this at some point.
Well, that in Australia, that got that made it onto 2 TV shows. It was a real good ride. That it took me to places and things that it displayed at an atomic fest we had over here beside Genome. Remember Genome's?
Absolutely, I miss him. I don't know where he is. Miss him.
He with his weapon of mass destruction.
Yes,
him,
absolutely.
We featured at an atomic get up one year and had him on display there, and it made it onto a morning show here, made it onto a gaming show we had here, several magazines. I can remember lugging it all over Sydney. Here in Australia to magazine houses and dropping it off for photo shoots, and it made it into some men's magazines and all sorts of.
Yes,
it was an amazing ride. Not what I expected. Because just doing what we do. Back then it wasn't that type of scene. But it did. You're right. Yeah, it got a lot of attention.
Here's another big change from when we were doing this, and is today now we've got the individually sleeved cables, and you can, there's all these different manufacturers that offer these individually sleeved connectors. And going back to your build here, that wasn't even a thought. People weren't even, the idea of taking apart your 24-pin motherboard connector and individually sleeving the cables didn't even exist yet. Nobody had come up with that idea until $1 Million PC, one of the guys that he featured, Nils is the one that brought that whole trend, the individually custom sleeving all your wires and connectors and stuff. But this is kind of before people knew about $1 Million PC and Nils. Yeah, man, it's just. Yeah, I'm sure. I think was this published in the Maximum PC Extreme Mods book? Do you know, Luke?
It may have been. Yeah, either that or there was another one. I think it was called HP Server. I think it made it. Look, there was so much going on back in those days. It was really it was like a blurry ride. Almost I don't know. I felt like a rock star back then.
Yeah, you were, man.
It was so much fun. I was, yeah. And
you
and
definitely were.
At the end of it, the expectation to keep outdoing yourself may have been the biggest factor in why I might have taken a hiatus too.
Man.
I think you get to a point where you don't think you can produce anything better, yeah, look, I was, in the end, I think I was just trying anything. Look at that. That's just batty.
Now, what happened to this build? Where is it now?
I went to the tip.
You're making a lot of us groan in pain, dude.
Yeah, it went to the tip, mate. It's I had about a year ago. I had a little not an epiphany, but I thought I might get back into modding and have a go at it. And I thought maybe because all this crap is laying around in the garage, I can't get inspired to do something new. So I thought maybe if I get it all out of here, the inspiration to create something again would hit me. And it didn't.
And it didn't. Love his honesty.
Yeah, it just nothing happened.
Yeah, but that's art, though. I mean, if you're forcing it, you're not enjoying it.
That's it. Exactly. You're turning out trash. And I would hate to I'd hate to turn out something that I felt wasn't deserving of other people's attention. You know, people invest time in what we do. They genuinely do. If you're sitting down now to watch a YouTube, and that's where this whole scene's gone to. It's gone over to YouTube. It's gone to the new
Yes,
medium,
you're right.
and the new medium is YouTube. Back
Yes.
then, it wasn't a new medium. It wasn't viable to be posting up on YouTube. If people are going to invest time and part of their day to what you do, you've got to give them something worth looking at. And if you're not producing that, you're not doing that, or you move on. Let somebody else do it, because there's plenty of other people out there that can produce amazing stuff nowadays.
Yeah, it's true. People, they want to see it in 60 frames per second now.
It's all about it's all Netflix, isn't it? It's on demand. It's you want to be able to switch on, go to your favorite YouTube channel, see what you want to see, and then move on. Sifting through a forum to get through.
That's old man stuff.
That's old man stuff. It is. It's picking up a book. That's
it's true.
It's gone. And that's the industry we're in. That's we've contributed, we've added to it. We've had our day in the sun, and it's time to move on. The HP mod or the Disco Scorpion, it's a laugh. I'm having a real a laugh at the moment making this. I'm trying to make my work logs as fun, and it's like Cheapskate said the other day. Here's a whole mod and no one's seen a piece of hardware in it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is a piss take on the whole scene, the whole RGB thing. It's one last.
I got a good laugh. I get a great laugh out of reading that too, just because.
Thank you.
I remember so many of the classic work logs that today people would be so frustrated with the flow of them, because we did converse, we had those back and forths, and people worked out their issues with, I just ran into a brick wall here. Here's what I was attempting to do. And then 14 people would jump in and say, why don't you try this? Why don't you, do a little twist of that? And I don't know. I miss that. I really do miss that. But I don't think that style would survive very long these days either.
No, it doesn't.
No way.
It doesn't.
That was a slower pace.
It was, wasn't it? People would wait. You'd have 4 or 5 work logs in each forum that you'd be following, and you would wait. And I felt obligated to give people an update. Almost daily. You'd come home from work, you'd get home early, you'd be straight out in the shed, and you'd be out there to get somebody, to give somebody something, no matter how big or little. And the nights where you got a good run at it, where you could get a few things done, well, you'd stretch those out 3 nights and have a break. That's how it sort of worked.
We do have another question here, if you don't mind. Martin wants to know, what is your favorite case out on the market? Any time frame, just what was your favorite case?
Modded, let's say a modded case. I never.
No. Something that you would pick up off the shelf.
Oh, what I would buy now? I like the glass cases. You look at some of these glass cases and you can see everything into the case. So it's what's their is it Corsair 5? No, I'll tell you what it is. Right now there's a new one out. I sent a review pop up. I think it's called a 500. Is it a Corsair 500?
That's
I hope so.
It's got all the glass sides, right?
With the 2 massive fans in the front of it. Now that's got me written all over it.
All right.
I like that one. They say, well, like all of them, you've got to be careful, because when you're paying $100 for a case, you're not getting true perspex. You're getting a cheap carbon.
Oh, that's one thing I've capitalized on, is this Well, that Corsair one, I believe those are tempered glass sides. Somebody can.
They are. Yep.
But what's happening is, well, what's happening? What's been happening is the windows that the factories have been using are some, I don't even know what, it's some type of weird plastic substrate material that they created that's not, it's not plexi, it's not acrylic,
No.
and it
No.
scratches. Even if you
Really
just
easy.
take a cloth, like if you were to like, well, I'll just use this paper towel to clean this, the paper towel will scratch up the surface.
Under your
And
fingertip, it feels gummy.
yeah,
That-
it's really
yeah.
weird. It's total shit. And MMPC Tech has capitalized on that. I mean, we've been making replacement windows for Corsair, NZXT, Fantex, because
Yep.
the factory windows, people are just disappointed with them, and the manufacturers haven't done anything to address it other than, well, we'll take that chassis and then we'll re-release it with a full tempered glass side panel instead. That's been kind of just like the only solution they could come up with. And I'm sure, I mean, here's the thing. Most mainstream consumers simply don't care and may not even notice that it scratches easy. But us as enthusiasts that love this
Of
hobby
course.
and love building and have high expectations for this stuff, we notice it. So it affects us, but we are just a very tiny nucleus in the whole grand scheme of this market. So it's not so what my point is that the manufacturers aren't going to change what they're
No.
using.
No, not when you're paying $100. That's there it is. Sorry, guys. It's the HP. It's a H500p Cooler Master. That's the one I like the most at the moment. If you're
H500p?
that's a gorgeous case. That
And you said that's Corsair or Cooler Master?
that's
Cooler Master.
Cooler Master.
Oh, that's their new one that just came out.
Beautiful. Yeah, I like that. It's got a few flaws, and again, it's probably got that crap plastic we were just talking about for Windows. But what everyone has to realize is that
Oh,
from
yeah,
a
right.
modding, that it's got so much modding potential. To me, I love.
I can see that. I could definitely see that as
I
a
see
canvas
Defiant.
already.
I see Defiant in this.
Yeah.
Do you not, everyone watching for the last hour, do you not see Defiant in this, what I'm showing right here?
The structural lines, the little support pegs there going in.
That's why he
I
likes
could
it.
definitely see why he would start with something like that.
You can see everything we used to do in the old days in these cases.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
Motherboards. You know, in the old days when we used to put covers on our motherboards or armor, we got called nuts. You know, now any high-end motherboard has armor on it.
Yeah,
That's
but
right.
back in those days, any kind of covering, and you took a good chance of torching your motherboard too.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. Unless you could get some flow, and that was sort of what I always worked towards, getting flow. A bit of flow always helped.
So this is must have. Oh, okay. Maybe it's just a wordplay on the half series. Okay. I wonder if the H means half. It's the brand new half series. Yeah. Okay.
It is. It's the new take on that old half. Yeah.
Okay. I love those old halves. I love the
Yep.
industrial styling of those. Yeah. And then, of course, we've got the vertical GPU now mount is becoming more standard as an option. Sure. Well, Cooler Master, they're very clever, like all these manufacturers, and just watching the trends. They watch and see what
Of course.
everybody does, and it took them forever to come up with the new Cosmos. That's the new Cosmos right there.
That's their
Took
big daddy. Yeah.
Yeah, it took forever for them to bring that back. Kind of lost. I left the. Okay, this is what I want to share. This is what one of the projects that Luke's been working on is these really cool custom taillights and headlights.
You'd have to go back to the photo bucket account for that, wouldn't you?
Really?
God.
I'm on your
Yeah,
YouTube channel right now.
It's
Oh, it's not showing up, Bill.
Oh, it's not?
That's good.
Really? Okay. Here, well, I'll go back. Oh, actually, can you see this?
Oh, right now we're only looking at the
Here,
main
let me readjust everything, and I'll bring back his website. Yeah.
Chrome pulled a Google on us.
Yeah. So this is cool having Luke with us tonight. If you've got any questions or comments, please post them. And this video is going to get published on my channel. So over time, Luke, when you have time, check back and see if there's any comments or questions. By all means, if you have any questions for Luke, or you liked some of the stuff that you've seen, or if you're an audiophile and have any kind of input or anything, just let us know in the comments. This video is going to be up forever for people to discover and learn more about Luke. Luke, while we have you here, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, the price of fish in China. Look, what I sort of see coming back to it after such a long period of time is not the decay or the death of what we used to do or what we're trying to do, but trying to sort of figure out a way to revive it, to try and keep the scene alive. It's disheartening when I go and look through forums and I see all the guys giving it a good go. You know, there's still a lot of great guys out there getting in and doing some good old fashioned modding, and it's great to see. It'd be nice get in there and support them is what I'm trying to say. You know, let them know what they're doing isn't dead. It's not gone by the wayside, because it's important, because these guys could potentially be your next YouTube channel. You know, these guys could be running. These could be the next 5 million subscriber. You know, but if they don't get the support they need in the early days, it can become disheartening. So when you see a young modder coming through and he's in the forums and he's having a go, give him all the support you can. That's it's really important. It doesn't let what we did die in vain.
Right.
And I think that's pretty important. You know, a bit selfish, but pretty important.
Yeah, keep the DIY aspect going and the experimentation, and don't be afraid to, you know, just go in there and learn some new things. And I think the biggest thing, and you're a great example of this tonight, is that how important it is to document and archive all of your work. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now if you hadn't documented and kept all this stuff on your site, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Although PhotoBucket's not making that easy anymore, which is why the progression or the transition, you see folders there that are unfilled, that I haven't been able to fill up and pull over from PhotoBucket.
Oh, I
for
see.
me, PhotoBucket has just become unmanageable. It's become such a nightmare to deal with.
Oh yeah, well they did that whole. They decided to charge everybody or
Yeah.
boot you if you didn't pay a renewal fee or something.
Yeah. So I've just started the transition. I find linking from this mob at SmugMug is a bit easier, but what I think I have to do, and like yourself, you realise we've got to start porting all this over into the YouTube realm. So it's on demand. You know, it's all there. Like you said, 60 frames a second. You can get in there. It's just me trying to get used to that format. You know,
Right. Oh, it's a time suck.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Now on here, you haven't brought your taillight and headlight mods over here, because I brought this up and it's
No, but if you do a Google Defyant mods, PhotoBucket will pop up. Okay, choose the. Oh, look at that.
Let's see here, Defyant mods.
I'm surprised it still comes up. Look at that.
Well, this will bring us to one of the pages in it. Let's see here. Hold on. Here we go. All right, and we'll go down here
That's a mess,
to
isn't it?
see here. Headlights. Is there a specific folder on here? Headlight teardowns. Let's see.
It's a mess, isn't it? Look at that.
That's a classic photo bucket.
It is, isn't it?
At the top, B6 Celica taillights.
I was looking at this earlier, though. Speaking of individually sleeved cables, look at this build that Luke did. This is pretty sweet. How
That's messy.
That's
Very
messy. Did you just say that's messy?
That's very messy.
Look at that shroud, though. The illuminated openings. That's so cool. That's cool, man.
That was the better part of that mod, but nothing to.
That's funny.
That actually never made it into the lounge room, unfortunately. Where we got? Oh, there you go. Yeah, there's Celica taillights.
Oh, we'll take a look at that. 86. Okay, this is crazy.
So basically, yeah, you guys, most people would, well, not most, a few, like remember the old 86 Celicas, and they had these big, massive, chunky taillights, and they were lit up by 3 or 4 light bulbs. Remember those?
Yeah.
Incandescence back in my day.
And this guy just wanted something a bit more, just something that he loves his Celica, and he wanted something that would grab people's attention. And when he puts his foot on the brake, these grab people's attention. There's no way, you can see the faces in the cars behind you lighting up red. They're brilliant. So you're never going to miss them. But
oh, this is your old car projects.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Well, we are. Well, I am a serious Mad Max fan. Was this car in any of the movies? Oh, whoops! Come on, photo bucket.
That's a Holden.
Yeah, Holden.
That was, I think, that's a HQ. What we called a HQ. That wasn't a Monaro. That was an SS. HQ SS ran a 308 motor, 308 dong. Aussie RC 4-speed. I think a 10-bolt diff from memory.
Hey, was this the cop? Was this in the Road Warrior movie, the second one? Was this used by one of the gang members? This looks familiar.
No, I think that was a Ford, similar shape, a 4-door sedan.
Okay.
Similar shape. We struggled with. It's funny because when you look through American car history and Australian car history, we really struggled to find an identity. And our cars were bitses from everywhere. That was actually an old write-off that, and I rebuilt. I think I was 19 or 20 when I built that. That's going back a long. That's back when we used to take photos. Remember that with cameras?
Yeah, and scan them.
Take them down to the shop and get them developed.
I'm trying to see if I can find more of your taillight stuff.
The taillights and headlights were a lot of fun, but what really made me, gave me wood was the sequential. I got into sequential blinkers, these are what you're looking at there. They're teardowns of old headlights. So that's me opening up a really expensive set of headlights.
BMW, I think.
And seeing what makes these headlights tick.
Good God.
I had a great job for a while where I was delivering to panel shops. So every time I'd see an old set of headlights in a bin down there or pulled out of a car, I'd grab them, bring them home. That's probably one of about 10 sets I opened up. And what I wanted to understand is how light travels. And you can see the tricks that they use to make. So here's me trying to emulate it. So that's me getting a piece of good old plex and trying to emulate what I just saw inside that headlight. And what I realized is that the tricks to getting light to travel along a piece of perspex or clear tubing is more about etching and patterns placed into the tube rather than the light itself traveling through it. So the light, if you put etchings or little notches along that tube, each of those little notches or grooves will catch that light and then reflect it again. And the more of those you've got along that tube, the better the light travels. And little secrets like that, yeah. When you open up and you see, you know, they're little
interesting. Well, yeah, I saw, and you know, this is actually one of the times that I checked back on your photo album is the Angel Eyes. BMW was doing they call the Angel Eye headlights.
Angel Eye headlights, yeah.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to get in on that what really early days. So this would have been the day I stopped modding HP6 was the day I started pulling apart a set of headlights. And I started on my own car because that's where we always start. You know, if you need a subject, you start on your own, Frankenstein style. And yeah, I started ripping apart my own headlights and having it, which was, you know, an expensive exercise to start with. But as I got better, ripping them apart and then sealing them back up, yeah, I started to get some good coin out of it. You know, a lot of demand for it. You know, if you got in early enough on it, and could make a name for yourself. Demand was just I couldn't keep up. In the end, it was just too much. So that, you know, the requests to do it became, you know, way
I can imagine. Let me see if I can pull up your YouTube channel again. Okay, cool. Because there was some examples. Oops, that's actually our stream right here. That's that's funny. That comes up right away. Good old Bing or Yahoo. YouTube channel.
That sort of led in down the track to the whole Angel Eye thing led into sequential blinkers, and they're the blinkers that you see that nowadays in the modern cars that go like that. They scroll along and light up as you see them in Audis. You're starting to see them in things like Kias and the lower end market cars now, but they originally came out in much higher end cars. And that was a craze. I think that sort of the scene was into maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I sort of cottoned onto the back of that and started designing my own sequential blinkers off a few designs I pinched off the net, and they became really popular. Time consuming, but very popular as well. The things you can do with LEDs is the LED technology has allowed us to move into that. Now you just see this stuff in cases. You know, you just buy a LED strip and that's the whole thing about the Disco Scorpion mod is here's a mod that is going to be completely lit using LEDs. Everything will be lit in it as a LED. And yet there won't be one bought strip from a manufacturer in that case. So your fans will be like that, the sides, the back, the front, everything. But there won't be one piece of purchased LED-ness in there.
It's all old school with the pigtails and everything. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So we can still do it as good as we can still take what the manufacturers took from us years ago and give it back to them.
Absolutely.
Right on. Defiant's channel, YouTube channel, is Defyant123, and I'm gonna pull up on Firefox. Firefox decided to do an update, so yeah. I don't use Firefox anymore, but I just using it for this today, and Let's see if I can finally pull this up. There we go. Okay. So here we're on your YouTube channel. Is there let's get more into this.
That rocket. Check out that hairspray.
Oh, check out the rocket.
There's some fun. Look at this. This is what modding's all about. Go out and make a rocket. Get some hairspray. Get a tube. Get an igniter from an old oven, and look what you can do. How much fun is this for the kids? Look at that. That's what modding's all about.
Hairspray rocket. I never knew you could use hairspray. I was wanting to share this clip right here. Now, this is an example of which tail light is this you're working on, Luke?
That would have been that was a really early play around for Orion, what we call, you guys call it a Camry, but we call it an Orion over here. That's its tail light.
Now, here's the thing. I'm looking at this, and this stuff would never fly in the States. These custom mods, you can't touch your lights and you can't mess around. But over there, it's okay to do this kind of stuff?
No, of course not.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
The idea is, if you're going to do these mods, do them in a way so that if you're going to get pulled over, they don't know. They just look at it. And,
so you can turn them on and off, stealth them.
Well, you can't stealth them. It's just to make them so they look professional enough, so they look like they're part of the original car. So if you've got a forum over there called HID Planet, and it's got all you guys go nuts over there for this sort of thing. And I initially, believe it or not, picked this up. What caught me onto this was, I think it was a Japanese site. And I picked up very early from Indo and Japanese sites about this, to the point where I actually got a magazine. I got a magazine imported, and I think I've still got it out the back somewhere. And this stuff is what I started to get into, the sequential. So your blinker's scrolling along. Looks a bit funny there. Looks a bit out of sync, but I'd imagine you're looking at the true speed.
Is this still your car you're using as the guinea pig?
Yeah, this old bucket's still floating around.
This is a killer car. Is this the Toyota Camry you're talking about?
Well, this is our version of your Camry. So
okay.
You guys
looks better than ours.
Well, that's the general consensus, believe it or not.
Yeah, it does. And I like the Holdens. I've looked at there was a couple years ago, somebody approached me about doing a Holden theme mod, and so I was doing a bit of research. And what is the Holden sport sedan called?
Monaro.
Yeah.
Monaro. Yeah.
Yeah, Monaro. Yeah. Those are sexy, man. And Holden is RGM, or is it Ford?
GMH.
Okay.
GMH, General Motors Corporation is your I think would be your big daddy to our Holden. Yeah. Is it GMC, General Motors? I think.
Yeah.
They share a lot of the same motors. The Chevy engine ended up in a lot of our Holdens, and it was a popular transplant for years and years and years. Yeah. What you see is an Australian industry trying to keep up, taking your ideas from all your cars, and we would scale them down to a slightly smaller, compact version of all your cars. So your Ford Fairlane 500s were beautiful old cars.
Torino.
The Torinos. We never quite got that style.
Wasn't that the Falcon XB, the XB based on our Torino though?
Was it? I might be thinking of a later one, because when I think of Torino, I think of a Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh, well, yeah, that is a Torino. That's a Ranchero.
Okay.
Well, no, that was a Torino, but that was like a later 70s. What year was that? 72 or 73? Boy, you get us on.
It was the Pontiac Firebird era, really, wasn't it? It got up into that sort of.
Falcon. Yeah. Here, let's see here. Ford Torino GT. I always, whenever I look at our Ford Torino GT, like 1970, I think Falcon XB. This is like the closest we've.
Interesting. Yeah.
Let's see here. Look
at that.
See how the roof line is the same?
Yeah, around the back corner, around that back edge there. I see. And then you're looking at our Ford Falcon two-door, our Bathurst winning our Bathurst winning cars, which was the
Yeah.
Ford Falcon XB.
Look at this one here.
Smaller. Yeah.
There's that great
smaller.
movie, Soothing the Beast, about the Australian actor that's really into the Falcon XB. He had one built. Let's see here. And the car we're talking about is Mad Max's car.
Yeah. That's the two-door Falcon XB. That's the one. That's the classic. But you see what we do with ours? We take away anything interesting. So we get rid of all the nice like the bonnet, the nice. Those bonnets were nice, but we take away a lot of the front end stuff that you guys would do, and we put these skinny little wheels on it. And, you know,
it's funny because if you talk to my friends, what your version is what we want.
Of course, isn't it? It's always you want what you don't have. It's exactly like those Camrys. What we would like, your version of that Camry, we get exactly an identical version of your Camry, but we get it with a 4-cylinder. You get it with a V6.
Yeah. Right.
We get it. So we want the V6 version. We have to get the Orient. You know.
Well, that's a decision by Toyota to do that. Why is Toyota?
Oh yeah.
But is there like regulations that Toyota is trying to meet by having just 4-cylinder version?
It's market research. They just get a bunch of drips into a room and they know nothing.
No shit.
Yeah, they do the market research and that's what you get. Unfortunately.
Oh man.
But they are a nice. I've got a soft spot for those. A few of my friends growing up had those, and I had a car called a Holden Statesman. Oh God. Which was a HQ, and it was a nice old car, but it was nothing compared to a 2-door Falcon. You know, the 2-door version of what you're looking at is fantastic. So, yeah, there it is. That's our Batmobile.
Interesting.
Good old bus. Yeah,
very interesting. Which is a lot like, it looks like our Caprice or Impala almost, kind of.
There you go. That was a name they gave to those two. It was a Holden Statesman Caprice.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually got that name tacked on the end at some stage. But yeah, it doesn't look. They look a lot nicer with mag wheels, lowered.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! I had a 68 2-door convertible. Love that car. I bought it for $275 from an old woman that couldn't drive it anymore, and she had installed handicap control, so it had the accelerator and brake on the steering column. And so what I would do, I had this when I was in high school, I would sit on top of the driver's seat and drive around the school using this control, and people be looking at me like, how the hell is he driving that?
Brilliant.
All right, so the Holden sports sedan, what is that called again?
That's the Monaro. Yeah, Holden Monaro.
Monaro. How do you spell that?
Monaro. Monaro.
Oh yeah. All right, and they still make that today, right?
The last one. Well, we're talking on a landmark day because yesterday was the last day for Australians to roll off a Holden off their production line. So Australian-made Holdens are no more. Yesterday was the last day. We closed our only local plant. Now, so you have that car. I think it's a Buick. You guys get a Buick, so you recognize the taillights. That's an older version. That was the last one. That's the last model Holden Monaro to ever be built.
It's just the sales weren't there anymore?
I think so, yeah. I think, the sales weren't there. I mean, Australia compared to America is such a small market.
Yeah. And I apologize to anybody that's not into cars, but it always seems to deviate back to cars when...
Wrench heads.
My favorite video that I've watched a couple of times on your site is the one where you guys are walking around the old junkyard. I loved it.
Oh yeah.
You know, you took so much time to show us things, and that's fantastic.
Did you see the more recent one, Luke? The recent one that I did like 3 weeks ago that I posted?
Yep. Yep, I did. The two of you
Oh,
drove down to the junk. Yep, and had a walk around, and yeah,
yeah.
loved it.
Oh,
Yep,
that's
loved
the
it.
first time that yard's ever been documented in a video
I know.
online.
What a find! What
I
a
know.
find! The stuff.
I know. It's
You know, just
crazy.
wow. And that container just sitting there with all those goodies up the back of it. I thought, wow,
I
that's
know. I
crazy.
know. It was great. And here's the thing is that here in the States, being able to go into a junkyard and actually pull parts on your own has really become a rarity just because the cost of insurance risk, of people hurting themselves. So a lot of yards don't do it anymore. And a lot of yards just simply crush the cars because they're worth more money in recycling the
Isn't
the
that
the
nuts?
steel versus
I
the
know.
parts. So this family is like holding on to this as like I don't know. I just really respect the family for holding on to it, and not crushing all the cars. And it's not like they have a lot of money. It's just that
No.
they just appreciate for what's there and that. And
Hmm.
there is there is
The
another.
museum.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
And there's another yard that I got word of in Wisconsin that's similar that I want to get to and try to get that documented as well. But in
I
any
hope you do. I
case,
hope you do. It'll be a great watch.
yeah. In any case, thanks everybody for watching, and Luke, obviously for joining us. Is there anything you wanted to close? Like what? Right now, you can watch his current project, which is Disco Scorpion, and it's on the Modzu, it's on BitTech, it's on Linus Tech
Oh, look,
forums.
I think I'll only keep a regular update, mostly on Modzu and OCAU. I'll probably not be as attentive on the other sites. It's taking up too much time at the moment. So, um, yeah, for now, just concentrate mostly on the Modzu. That's the place I'll keep it the most up to date and the most commentary for now.
Cool. All right, everybody. Well, thank you, Luke, for joining us. And again, keep the comments and questions going after the video is published. And this can be a spot here to check up on Luke once in a while, maybe, and have a correspondence with him. And of course, Luke's channel is Defyant123. So it sounds like you may, if you have time, start making more videos to document these projects.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's probably, but it won't just be modding. Unfortunately, it's as much as I want to devote to it. It'll be an eclectic mix of projects, from hairspray rockets to computer case mods.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, thanks again for joining us, and it's good to have you back. And hopefully, you can stay a while and maybe share some other projects. I'm just gonna put this out here right now. Everybody that's watching this is that watching Luke's current build, this Disco Scorpion. I'm gonna bet that it's gonna probably make Mod of the Month on BitTech's forums. It's definitely going to be a contender for sure, nominated. And once he's done with it, who knows where it may show up. It may show up in like a publication or some site, because that's just the type of work that Luke puts into his projects, is that when it's done, it blows people's minds. So thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
You bet.
All right. And in closing, I wanted to throw in a little piece. We had a couple of big security scares that came out in the last week and a half. The one that I'm going to focus on is the Wi-Fi issue, WPA2. There's been a significant weakness found in it, and there's a lot of bad information going around. So the things that you need to focus on, if you are running Windows with Wi-Fi, Windows 7 or newer, Microsoft's already patched it, so get those patches installed. You're all good. If you're running iOS devices, your phone or your iPad, you're all set, because Apple implemented WPA incorrectly. It won't work. The hack won't work because Apple broke it to begin with. Unfortunately, their operating system on the desktops and the laptops does work correctly, so they are vulnerable until a patch gets pushed out, which should be anytime. Linux devices, however, your Android phones and Linux desktops and laptops that use Wi-Fi, look for the patches. The open source community is getting on top of it and getting it out, but it's the Android phones and your Internet of Things devices that are going to be the big worries. And so you need to get everything patched as soon as you can. Get on your manufacturer's asses about this, because this is a pretty big, widespread thing. The other issue only really deals so much with enterprise stuff. So unless you're an enterprise user, don't really worry too badly about it. But if you are an enterprise person, you want to look at upgrading your TPM chips and you want to rekey your encryption. Other than that, though, it was wonderful listening in on this little bit of modding history. This is giving back to the community is exactly why Bill and I, and sometimes Chris, do these hangouts. We want to keep bringing all of this information to everyone. We're trying to bridge the gap into the new media with YouTube and everything. And as long as you guys keep enjoying it, we're going to keep going. Well, we'll probably keep going a bit beyond, if people stop enjoying it for some reason. But, we just want to share the love. We want to share the history. We want to make sure the hobby is documented for other people to find later on. And, if we encourage you to go out and find something that's annoying you, doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, and you just want to cut it up, do it. Come over to the Mod Zoo, share with us, show us what you did, blow up a rocket with some hairspray, make a video, just share the love. That's the most important thing.
Right on.
You guys have a good one. We'll see you next week.